So yeah, chat. We're gonna do some fun. We're gonna do this, as you can see here. Hold on, it wasn't meant to. You weren't meant to see that yet. Let's move to the screen. Hello, chat. Hi, my name's Flower. So I recently watched the hit anime Re:Zero, which, if you guys do not know, is an anime that's basically an isekai, but the main character has no superpowers, no special abilities. They are just thrown into a fantasy world, and they suffer, is the idea behind it. Well, no. Basically, it's like a Groundhog Day style thing, but as he moves up, he gets checkpoints and continues his way through this world. Great story, great characters, but we're not here to talk about the characters today. We're here to talk about suffering. So we're going to be doing that before we go into Persona 5, and then we'll have an intro for that, and then start that stream. I'm a little bit upset right now, chat, because of some personal stuff that happened literally about 10 minutes ago. I apologize if I'm, like, not entirely locked in right away, but I'll try to be as best I can. But let's get some music on for this. I thought the perfect music to play during this kind of morbid tier list segment would be something equally morbid and equally terrifying. Let me just get that up in the background. Here we go, lovely. Let's get this up. There we go. We got some lovely Kirby music. Okay, this is probably too chill, actually, I think. Kirby music to touch grass to. I'll have that on. There we go, that's better. A bit more lively. So yeah, spoiler warning for all of Re:Zero Season 1 to 3. If you have not seen the anime, I highly recommend it. There's a lot of good stuff in it. If you like gore, you will like Re:Zero. There's a lot of that in it as well. So yeah, we're going to be doing the constructive dive into all of Subaru's deaths in Re:Zero. Ranking so far. All the deaths that have transpired in Re:Zero are Act 1 to Act 5. Act 1 and 2 are Season 1. No, Act 1 to 3 are Season 1. Act 4 is Season 2. And Act 5 is Season 3. We're going to go through all of these and rank them in terms of how much they suck. Because I thought, why not? I finished the show. I wanna lay it to rest in some manner, just so I can move on for now and remember how much I enjoyed it. So let's get started, shall we? With this slightly morbid Subaru death ranking. I keep calling him Subaru. It's Subaru. I think Maelstrom corrected me on that. But yeah, let's start with Act 1. So Act 1 follows Subaru's arrival in this world. And immediately, he is faced with what is this show's main gimmick, which is he dies, and then he goes back to the beginning. And Act 1 is kind of normal. In fact, actually, I just realised something. I think each of these acts are like different checkpoints. Because, yeah, these all lead to the same beginning. I didn't realise that. But yeah, each act, I guess, serves as a new checkpoint in the story. So Act 1, he is killed by someone called Elsa, who is a character who enjoys disemboweling people. Welcome in, Maelstrom. We're doing my slightly morbid Subaru death ranking, which may interest you. So we're going to begin with the first death, where he's sliced up by Elsa. Obviously, he's in a lot of shock here. He doesn't realise what's happening. And I don't think he feels like the true extent of the pain, because he's like, oh, I'm just dying. The main thing with this death is that he watches Emilie, a character that he quite likes, die in front of him. Or she goes off to the bar, and then she finds her dead. And he's like, oh, wait, no, I liked her. And yeah, it's pretty fucked. He has like a minor panic attack before he dies, and then he just wakes up. Imagine if the show ended there. But that was the only thing we had for the show. This one segment where he just dies. So we're gonna, I think we're gonna put this in terms of like comparison to the other ones. Yeah, actually, no. You do make a good point, Maelstrom, that he actually thinks he's going to die here. This is the only time in the entire show where he thinks he's going to die. Maybe the first couple, but in fact, yeah, that is true. And he gets disemboweled. But I think he's also in shock as well. So I'm going to put it here, I think. This is good Kirby music for this chat. It's good. Right, moving on to the second death. I think this one's more viscerally painful because I think this is the one where he gets his arm chopped off too. This is the one where like Elsa like enjoys watching Subaru die. In the first death, Elsa doesn't really glorify it. She just kills him and then that's it. But in this one, she does, and yeah, it's not good, chat. I think it's as painful as the first death, physically. So we'll put it here. But let's make this a little bit smaller so they go against the gradient. Final one for season 1. I realized there was only 3 deaths in season 1. Not season 1, act 1. Stabbed by street punks. I like this death. I like it not because it's like the most graphic death for Subaru, but because he just kind of, this is the point where he realizes, oh wait, if I die, I just respawn. And it's kind of his ascent, I think, into just glorifying that power which he has in the rest of season 1, season 2. Because he just ends up trying to escape the street punks and he just ends up dying. I don't think it's as bad as the first 2, just because of that. I think it's probably the most shocking one so far. So we're going to put it here, I think. Because this is the one where he's like, oh, I just respawn. So many people who talk about the anime just don't understand the mental toll this will take. I remember seeing online, in fact, speaking of that, Maelstrom, I remember seeing online that someone was like, why doesn't Subaru just keep dying so he can get the best ending? You know, you're asking him to do, right? You're asking him to like kill himself. Well, yes, a normal person would want to do. Well, okay, maybe I should rephrase that. That is something that, you know, people would happily do in any situation. No one wants to fucking die like that. So yeah, you always see people online. Yeah, exactly. Reset. Like even knowing you'll come back, he still feels the pain of dying, and. Not only that, but in season 2, it is implied by Echidna that when he dies, he is creating a different reality. That is not canon as far as we know. It is just a theory, but the creator of the show put that in there to make us feel awful. And yeah, he leaves behind some pretty fucked up realities when he dies. But let's move on to Act 2, chat. I think this is the least fucked up death until he wakes up. He dies in a magical curse he gets from the Mad Beast in his bed. And he's like, wait, I just went back in time. Which means he died. In terms of like emotional damage, it's not terrible. However, it is worth noting that this is right before his date with Amelia. And he's pretty heartbroken over that fact. He has to do all of that again. And what I like about the show is that it treats it like how someone would actually physically think about this. Because in hindsight, everything he is now doing with Amelia is all showmanship. He is just repeating what he did before, but better. He has used that prior experience to be a better actor, rather than actually feeling those emotions. And that ends up fucking him up, I think, in some ways. I kind of wish the show leaned into that more, where he, having had that prior experience, kind of has a disconnect with reality. That's something that In Stars and Time does really well. That video game I played last year, or no, I think it was 2023. That game dives straight first into the whole like the theatre of just dying over and over again, because you end up saying certain things to get certain responses. There was a thing with this which like even knowing he feels that pain too, it also puts him in a state of confusion where it's like, wait, where the fuck killed me and why? Yeah, I think because of that we'll put it mid tier. I don't think it's as bad as the first 2. Like there are some, we haven't even gone to the bad ones yet, chat. We haven't even gone to the bad ones, I'd say. Like these are pretty tame compared to some later ones. Okay, so this one is we can do the next 2 together, I think. because these are both. So Rem does not actually kill him. People think that Rem kills him here. He does not. He dies from a magical curse. He dies from his mana leaving his body. Again, I think this is worse than the last death. However, he doesn't know who kills him yet. All he knows is there's a sound of chains. So I'm actually going to put it here. Yes, bludgeoning sucks. And it's very painful. But I don't think emotionally it's as bad as this one or the next one. Because the next one, chat, it's pretty awful. Not only is it bad for, you know, Subaru after the fact, but before the fact, he is in a pretty bad place at this point. He runs away thinking that he is going to die, and then he finds his attacker, Rem, appearing, who obliterates him, like, mostly tortures him, and then we find out why, because they don't trust him. And it's fully understandable why they don't trust him, because he does act a little bit strange. And then you realise, oh, it's because of his own actions that led to this, huh? And then, something I didn't know until after the fact, but Rem is not the one who kills him here. It is her sister, Ram. Ram uses her wind magic to slice his neck, to put him out of his misery. Music is one hell of a juxtaposition. I know, that's why I did it. So, I'm going to put this here. Because when he wakes up, after the fact, knowing that Ram and Rem want to kill him, and he sees them both in the bedchamber, he is terrified of them. And they have no idea why, because this is the first time they've met him, according to him just restarting, basically. And then we have this death. Now, this show does not glorify suicide, which is, I'm glad it doesn't, because that's a pretty fucked up thing. But this is the only time in the show where his death is seen as a positive thing. At least, if we're not going by the multiple universe thing. Because he realizes at this point he needs to be a better person to Rem and Ram, and actually be be nice to the other characters, and not just act like this is his stupid fantasy world that he created. He hasn't completed his arc yet, mind you. He's still kind of an arrogant asshole at this point, but he is getting better. So, I think I'm going to put this at bottom, because I don't think he feels the death. I think him falling from the cliff, he just dies. So it's not that bad. For everyone else, it sucks. But for Subaru, it's fine. It's probably his, like, most elated moment he's had so far. Which is weird considering he's dying, but he has, like, a revelation, I guess, right? But good things come to an end, chat. Because now we reach the best episode of Season 1. And also the most fucked up, probably, scenes I've seen in anime. Yes, we're going to talk about the outro. But firstly, both of these are going at top. They're both going at top, because how can they not? Let me just provide some context for you here. Subaru returns back to Roswell's Manor after a fallout of Amelie in the capital city. He goes back there to try and reconcile things, to try and make her feel better. Upon arriving, everyone in the village is dead. Rem is dead. Music. Ram is dead. And they're brutally murdered. They're not just like dead on the floor, they are brutally murdered on the floor. All the children are dead. And he's got this constant sense of dread as he goes towards Amelia's chamber, finds a secret passageway, and only in that moment, he is frozen solid, his hand is frozen off, and then the last thing he hears before he dies is Puck saying something along those lines of, "You did this. This is your fault." And then he dies. Yeah, that's a pretty. It's not like, you know, painful. I don't think these two deaths are painful necessarily. But the emotional, like, after this death occurs, chat, he goes literally insane. He just goes catatonic. Until, like, we meet the Archbishop of Sloth, who's like, you're not actually insane, buddy. You're just, like, dealing with some PTSD. Is that actual therapy for him? And then, yeah, we lead to one of the best scenes in the show, also the saddest. Him carrying Rem's body back to the mansion. Him seeing the giant creature top of the castle, and then him dying again. And the episode just ends there. Oh, no, it doesn't actually. So, the episode ends with this haunting music, and then the credits will start flying up at the screen. It's blood red. It's great. Really dramatic. If they had ended the episode there, I think they would have had to put out like a helpline at the end of the episode. Because no one would have been able to deal with that. I'm glad they had the scene afterwards showing that Subaru was determined to stop this from happening. Because if they didn't do that, this episode would be devastating. I think a lot of us would need therapy after it. I think a lot of us needed therapy after it anyway, even though it didn't occur. So yeah, that's gonna go there. What is it? What is it, Maelstrom? Was it? I don't know what version you watched. Was it the extended cut version? Yeah, I watched the director's cut version. Remember that being the last part of the episode? No, it had the credits and then it cut back to Subaru waking up and then walking with Rem. The last thing we see is his eyes glinting red. I mean, when it was airing the original. Right, yeah, the director's cut version is the one I watched, yes. That was... So yeah, for me, if you want to know my context for that, chat, I had to watch this and this in like a 40-minute stretch. There was a cliffhanger, no after credits. Fuck! Oh my god! But chat, we're not done. You think that the suffering ends for Subaru. What I like about it is after this episode, you think, oh, he's done. We're going to have like a hero loop now. No. The next one, he loses entirely again. He returns to the mansion and is like, I want to tell Amelia what's going on here. I want to tell her about my powers. And he's about to tell her this. But as we find out, if Subaru tells anyone that he can return by death, they immediately die. Amelia dies because Subaru tells her about his powers. He is the reason she dies. And that fucks him up. And then Puck's like, yeah, you really fucked up, buddy. And then kills him. And which leads to the best episode in the show, where Rem like supports him and gives him actual therapy. But I think it also goes in the red tier. Because he kills Amelia. He's the reason Amelia dies there. And that, for him, is probably the worst thing that he can do. I think this might be his least favorite loop, maybe. Either this one or one coming up in Season 2. Puck is a force to be reckoned with. And you don't even think it too. You think he's an adorable little cat. Well, he's not. And then the final death in Season 1, which I like a lot. I don't think it's... So here's the thing about this death, chat. I don't think it's framed as sad. It sucks for the people left in this timeline if Echidna is right. But the way Subaru sees it is, I know what to do now. I know how to deal with this. Like, he's been possessed by Pedogais, and it's like, okay, Julius, I need you to kill me. I feel bad for Felix in the scene. He's like, fuck, I don't know what to do here, man. This sucks. And yeah, it does suck. And that last shot with the sword swinging down and just seeing Amelia looking behind her, that's like we see some birds fly off in the forest. Perfection. I don't think it's the saddest death. I'm going to put it in the middle, I think. But in terms of this raw impact, it's great. And now moving on to Season 2. So, we're we're gonna start with a pretty fucked up one. Content warning, chat. I know I didn't give it before, but I will say the next couple of deaths are probably the worst ones in the entire show. If you thought season 1 was bad, get ready for the next 6, okay? So starting with Act 4. At the beginning of season 2, Rem, who has confessed her love to Subaru, and Subaru really likes as a friend at this point, has had her memories wiped. Everyone does not know who she is. Only Subaru knows because of his powers, and she is unconscious. In this moment of, like, madness, Subaru is like, I need to stop this from happening. And he does the thing that everyone wants him to do all the time. He forces a restart with a knife. I didn't know how to word this, but yeah, forced restart is how I would word it. It's not the most painful way to go. I don't know. He stabs himself. For me, what really makes this bad is, again, that echidna scene. That echidna scene changed everything for me, chat. Where she shows him a world where this universe continues on, and you just hear, I think, Amelie and Felix, like, desperately trying to bring him back to life. Or they're trying to heal him, but he's already gone. Yeah. No. That's gonna go up here. That's gonna go right at the top. Okay. So the next two, actually, I said were pretty bad. This one isn't that terrible. It's more of a shock to see Elsa alive again. By the way, Elsa probably has the most kills on Subaru in the entire show. I don't think that's actually what's happening, but more of a mind game. But yeah, it could be either way. Or we don't know, right? That's what's scary about it. I'm going to put this in mid tier, because he gets, you know, guided by Elsa, but for the most part, like, it's not that bad. The next one, however, when he goes back to try and save them again, does not go well. I think the worst part of this one is finding out that Petra died right before him. You see him holding onto the bandana that he made for her. And yeah. Because the way, I love how season 2 works. Season 2 is my favorite season, well, one of my favorite seasons of anime ever, because of how they frame the narrative. The anime frames it as him being victorious, the same way they frame the this loop where he goes back to save Amelie and then accidentally kills her. This one, you think, oh, he's gonna win, right? Like, we've already died twice. He wouldn't die again. He wouldn't die again. So yeah. Wait. Oh, hold on. These are in the wrong fucking order. There we go. Put that there. So I'm gonna put it in here, just because watching Petra die again. I don't think it's a pain thing at this point. I think it's more so just seeing Petra, in particular, be dead. Sucked for him. Okay. In terms of most painful way to die, I think we can all agree this is the worst one. There's no argument here. So we meet a Great Rabbit in this episode. And Subaru... Is this, chat, just to confirm, is this the same loop where he watches Beatrix die? Because I think this is, like, he gets out of the castle, runs away with Beatrix, and then he dies. And then he ends up outside in the temple where it's snowy. I might be wrong about that, but I think it is. But yeah, he's eaten. Yeah, he's eaten by 1,000 rabbits. And the voice actor, in both versions, by the way, chat, Sean Kiplock, who voiced him in the dub, also does a fantastic job here. Because how do you direct that? How do you tell your voice actor to react to this? Like, what do you tell them? You're being eaten by 1,000 rabbits. So I'm gonna put this in red, because there's a thing I saw online, and I agree with this. If Echidna did not tell Subaru that she knew what Return by Death was after this, I think he might have lost his mind. He needed that after this occurred, he needed Echidna's aid, Echidna's therapy. This is why I don't really view Echidna as an evil character. I don't think he's like morally good. I think he makes some questionable decisions, but I understand her motivations. And I can't really sit there and act like he doesn't care for some characters in this show. I think, like, he's not, like, good necessarily, but I don't think he's evil. And she's one of the best characters, I think, in RE0. I know she's not going to come back, probably, because Season 2 it feels very self-contained, but I want more of her, damn it. She's wonderful. But yeah, she helps him out afterwards. But continuing Season 2's first half, its trend, the suffering does not end there, chat. The suffering does not end, because as soon as he leaves Echidna's realm, Satella is like, why, who's this other person you're talking to? I'm very jealous of you. And then, like, we find out eventually that Satella is not that bad, but this episode made her utterly terrifying. And I don't know what kills him in this scene. It's left very vague, but we know that Satella consumed the whole village, and Subaru, as far as I understood, feels all of their emotions, their pain in this moment, and he somehow restarts. Maybe he restarts just from sheer exhaustion, but I've also been told that he does this, but we don't see that. But again, it's pretty fucked up. I don't think it's as fucked up as the last death, but it's pretty fucked. So I'm gonna put it here. I think Skibism is about as bad as to go as I can imagine. Yeah. And then the final death in Season 2. I always forget that this death is the same one where Roswell kills Garfield and Ram in front of Subaru, but it is. This is also, in my opinion, this is the worst one for Subaru. I don't think it's his worst death, personally, but I think it's the worst one for him. Worse than watching him die, her die in this loop. Because, like, she becomes the character that everyone wanted her to be in Season 1, which is just her being a waifu. She just lost her mind, basically, and just wants Subaru to be happy. Like, she loves him, but it's because she just lost her mind. Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like this scene. I think this scene sucks. Like, he doesn't care. He doesn't care that he's injured in that scene where he lost his eye. And he just kind of, you know, consoles him while he dies from his wounds from the Great Rabbit. So, again, I don't think it's his worst death. I'm going to put it in this one just because I think he would think it's his worst one. But that's Season 2. And now we got Season 3. These ones... So here's the thing about the Season 3 deaths. I don't think they're as bad as the Season 1 and 2 ones. I think they're mainly in here just for, you know, the RE0 to maintain its, like, gimmick. There's definitely a shift once you hit Season 2 where the worst becomes more mental anguish than physical. Yeah. I kind of wish there were more deaths in Season 3. I don't know how you do that, because it's definitely more of an ensemble season. It's not just about Subway. I mean, for fuck's sake, there's a whole portion at the end of the season where he doesn't appear for 4 episodes. Let's go for them, though. So we meet a new Archbishop of Wrath. And we find out about her powers, which I think are cool. She can make anyone feel someone else's emotions and also their pain. So she drops a kid off the roof, the kid dies, and everyone in the square dies. I like the emotional brainwashing that occurs here, because the scene is framed as like for some reason everyone is like simping over her, and I'm like, why is Subaru doing this? This is very out of character. And then you see his eyes, and it's like, oh shit. Everyone is brainwashed right now. And then that end part where all their heads explode. Good scene. I enjoyed it, but it also sucked. But I don't think it's the worst death he's had. Because he's not really, like, feeling anything in that point. I don't know. Because, like, he's feeling the emotions of, I would assume, wrath at that point. And thus is not physically terrified. But then afterwards is his actual emotions. Then we get to the next one, which is pretty fucked. Strung up and choked out. This death is definitely in there for shock value, I think. He gets grabbed by a chain, his fingers get ripped off, and he gets like hung from the clock tower. The worst part about this death is he's feeling the fear from the kid, and I think the emotions are getting magnified. So his fear is becoming the kid's fear is becoming his fear, and they're just ping-ponging off each other until like he can barely deal with it, and then he dies. I'm gonna put this here, because he doesn't seem too hurt afterwards. I mean, he's used to it, I guess, at this point, right? But yeah, it is. Is he brainwashed but conscious inside? If you get, yeah, I think he can feel it on the inside, but I don't know. And then probably I would say the death that is joint with jumping off a cliff for the least like painful, because it more so sucks for Reinhard. Like, he watches Subaru die because of his own actions here. Because he kills Raph, and then we find out any injury inflicted to Raph is also inflicted to those that can hear a voice. So yeah, there it is, chat. A lovely, wholesome little tier list, teehee. I enjoyed it. It was good. We went through some happy moments, some sad moments. I will say one final thing about Season 3. I generally thought at one point that Subaru was going to die again. I think it was the scene where Capella knocks his leg off, where I was like, oh yeah, he's dead now. And then he doesn't, because he grows his leg back through the dragon's blood. I don't know if the dragon's blood is going to be important in later seasons. It feels like it was kind of forgotten about. Like, it was mentioned in the finale. Like, he mentions the fact that he has no control over it. It just does its own thing. But then outside of that, it's like, okay, Subaru just has this thing in his body now, and I guess he can just heal any injury now? He's physically scarred by it. Yeah, he's got like a red arm, red hand now, which I guess he might wear gloves. But yeah, that's it, chat. That was RE0. What a good show. I was wondering if I was going to read the graphic novel instead of waiting for the anime to come out, but I think I'll just wait. There's plenty of other things to do. But yeah, as I mentioned, yeah, it has affected Crush as well. Right, chat. We're going to go to the beach episode now. We're going to enjoy the beach episode.